said is not very high. And an example for that is that we recently, in our company, assisted a French company to win a 500 million Swedish crown contract in a Swedish municipality. And the price was only a minor factor. And the way we did it was that we just simply asked questions to the contracting authority, which had no idea at first what we meant, but we explained, of course, in questions, and then we got answers, and then we put questions again. I think we asked about around maybe 100 questions during a time limit of 20 days or something. And of course they were crazy. They were just like working day and night just to answer our questions. And we thought we will never win this because they must hate us. but actually we got them to change a large bit of the contract because they have like huge damage parts of the contract, which made the offer very, very high in the price, which was bad for the contracting authority, and that they hadn't even a clue about it because they hadn't thought. But our client was very aware of those things, so they said to us, please ask those questions. And in the end, they actually won the contract. So some contracting authorities might be a bit upset of questions, but if you put them right in a good way, because it's about a win-win situation, of course. The contracting authority wants a certain service or product from you, and you want to get paid for that, of course. So it's a win-win situation. It's just to put it forward to the contracting authority in a good way. The last thing that I was going to tell you about is that thank you. Suppliers may now be, not now, but it's been a hot topic now, that because contracting authorities have started to use a certain paragraph in our Swedish law based on the EU law. So it's the same for all countries in the EU, maybe a bit different in the language formulation, of course, but that suppliers may now be excluded from participating in a procurement if the suppliers have been guilty of professional misconduct, and the contracting authority can prove this. And this guilty bit is not that it has to be a judgment from court. It's just that maybe another contracting authority has found that no, this supplier has not fulfilled his contract in a good way. They have delivered products late, or they have not, well, some not fulfilling the contract. And this is a bit dangerous, of course, to suppliers, because but in my view, it actually makes the supplier and the contracting authority very aware of the contract, making both parts aware of this problem, and this might in fact give the supplier a very negative response in the next public procurement, because another contracting authority might then use this and say, no, this municipality was not very glad or happy with your results, so that's why you are excluded now from our public procurements. And this is, of course, this is a disadvantages, not a good thing to some suppliers, but gives other suppliers an opportunity to actually come in and do a better work. So it's a good and bad thing for suppliers. If you're doing a great job, it's just a good thing, because then you'll never be excluded because not fulfilling the contract. I think I've held my half an hour now. So I say thank you, and I think you're all able to ask some questions now, if I'm not wrong.
Not yet, not yet. We still have one more presenter.
Oh, sorry.
Please welcome Mrs. Lina Gedraitne from the Ministry of the Economy, who will explain us about the Solvit centers and how these centers help dealing with bureaucracy issues over the EU. This or
Sveiki, aš esu Lina Gedraitienė iš Ūkio ministerijos ES vidaus rinkos koordinavimo skyriaus. Ir šiandien jums pristatysiu Solvit, tai yra alternatyvų problemų sprendimo tinklą Europoje. Mano tikslas, kad žmonės, kurie turi asmeninių ar verslo reikalų kitose Europos šalyse, žinotų apie Solvit, nes tai yra įrankis, kuris padeda spręsti problemas susijusias su ES vidaus rinkos funkcionavimo. Tai pradžioje šiek tiek tokios bendros informacijos apie ES vidaus rinką, bei kokias galimybės jinai mums visiems suteikia. Tai vidaus rinka, dar kartais vadinama bendraja rinka, yra vienas iš svarbiausių ir sėkmingiausių Europos vienijimo pasiekimų. Šiuo metu jie apima daugiau nei 5,5 milijardo gyventojų rinką. Ir kertiniai principai, kuriais paremtas vidaus rinkos veikimas, tai yra laisvas prekių, paslaugų, kapitalo ir asmenų judėjimas tarp valstybių narių. Pagrindinis vidaus rinkos tikslas yra pašalinti barjerus, supaprastinti taisyklės, panaikinti kitas kliūtis. Tai yra, kad piliečiai, verslininkai galėtų lengviau naudotis ES teikiamomis galimybėmis. Tai laisvas prekių judėjimas yra garantuojamas uždraudžiant apmokestinti kitų valstybių narių prekes papildomais mokesčiais, taip pat uždraudžiant priemonės, kurios sukelia geresnės sąlygas vietiniams prekiams, lyginant su importuojamomis prekiamis, taip pat abipusio pripažinimo principas, kuris reiškia, kad jei vienoje valstybėje narėje yra pagaminta ir parduodama prekė teisėtai ir jie atitinka kokybės standartus, tai ją galima pardavinėti ir kitoje valstybėje narėje. Ir taip pat uždraudžiant kiekybinius eksporto ir importo prekių ribojimus. Laisvas paslaugų judėjimas, tai galimybę teikti paslaugas visoje vidaus rinkos teritorijoje ir paslaugų sektorius apima didelę dalį ES ekonomikos, tai yra apie 70%, todėl yra ypač svarbu, kad būtų įveiktos kliūtis, kurios riboja laisvą paslaugų judėjimą. Taigi, jeigu įmonė nori teikti paslaugas kitoje valstybėje, neprivalo būti įsisteigus joje, tai yra verslas gali būti įsteigtas ir registruotas kitoje šalyje. Taip pat draudžiamos bet kokios priemonės ribojančios paslaugų judėjimą ir taip pat bet kokia diskriminacija tautybės pagrindu. Laisvas asmenų judėjimas piliečiams ir jų šeimoms nariams suteikia daugybę galimybių. Tai yra keliauti po ES valstybės, dirbti juose, studijuoti, gauti socialinės garantijas bei kitas galimybės. Laisvas piliečių judėjimas yra susijęs su ES pilietybė. ES piliečių yra laikomas kiekvienas asmuo, kuris turi valstybės narės pilietybę. Ir ES pilietybė, jinai nepakeičia valstybės narės pilietybės, bet ją tiesiog papildo. Taigi, tai laisvas asmenų, prekių, paslaugų ir kapitalo judėjimas verslininkams suteikia labai daug galimybių. Tai verslininkai gali lengviau prekiauti, teikti paslaugas visoje ES teritorijoje, dalyvauti viešuosiuose pirkimuose, investuoti, gauti paramą verslui ir kita. Ir tokių galimybių dėka plėtra didina tiek atskirų ES valstybių, tiek bendrai ES atsparumą ekonominiams nuosmukiams. Teisiškai šis asmenų, prekių, paslaugų ir kapitalo judėjimo laisvės yra įtvirtintos steigimo sutartyse ir ES teisės aktuose. Tačiau ką daryti, kur kreiptis, kas galėtų padėti, kai yra nesivadovaujama šiais teisės aktais arba jie taikomi neteisingai ir tokiu būdu yra įmonių teisės pažeidžiamos. Tai tradicinės priemonės tokias problemas spręsti, tai yra kontaktai su kompetitingomis institucijomis, teisininkų konsultacijos, nacionaliniai teismai, galima skųstis Europos komisijai. Šių tradicinių priemonių trūkumai yra tokie, kad tai yra gana sudėtinga, nes problema yra kilus kitoje valstybėje. Tai tas procesas yra iš tikrųjų sudėtingas, brangus ir ilgai užtrunka. O rezultatas tai yra pažeidžiamos įmonės teisės. Alternatyva, kaip spręsti tokias problemas, tai yra Solvit. Tai Solvit tai yra problemų susijusių su netinkamu ES vidaus rinkos funkcionavimu sprendimo priemonė. Ir tai yra neteisminis piliečių ir įmonių problemų sprendimas. Solvit tinklas veikia nuo 2002 metų ir jungia 31 šalies Solvit centrus. Tai yra visos ES šalis narės, o taip pat ir Islandija, Lichtenšteinas ir Norvegija. Solvit pagrindas tai yra bendra internetinė duomenų bazėje, kurią administruoja Europos komisija. Čia šiek tiek pavaizdavau, kurioje vietoje maždaug Solvit yra. Tai vat, jeigu žiūrint nuo pačios, tai yra visi instrumentai, visa informacija apie ES piliečių ir įmonių teises. Tai visi instrumentai, kurie informuoja, konsultuoja teisiniais klausimais Europoje. Tuomet aukščiau yra Solvit, kuris jau sprendžia konkrečią problemą, kai yra klaidingai taikomas ES teisės aktas. Ir tas problemas sprendžia neteisminiu būdu. Ir viršuje tai yra jau teisminės visos procedūros, kuomet problema sprendžiama teisme. Kokias problemas sprendžia Solvit? Tai kylančias Lietuvos piliečiams ir įmonėms kitose valstybėse narėse. Taip pat kitas toks blokas, tai kai kitų Europos valstybių piliečiams ir įmonėms problemos kyla Lietuvoje. Kai valstybės institucijos klaidingai taiko ES vidaus rinkos teisės aktus. Ir taip pat susijusia su nacionaliniais teisės aktais prieštaraujančiais ES teisės principams. Tačiau Solvit nesprendžia nesutarimų tarp įmonių, tai yra, kai problema tarp vienos įmonės ir antros, nesutarimų tarp įmonių ir piliečių ir nesutarimų, kuriems jau yra pradėtos teisminės procedūros. Kaip Solvit sprendžia problemas, tai skundų pateikimas vyksta taip, kad į mus kreipiasi klientas, turintis problemą. Jisai kreiptis gali užpildydamas elektroninę internetinę formą, gali elektroniniu paštu, gali pas mus užeiti, pasiskambinti. Tada mes nagrinėjame, ar problemą galima įspręsti Solvit centre, tai yra nustatoma, ar tai yra vidaus rinkos problema. Įsiaiškinama, koksai ES teisės aktas yra pažeistas. Jei problema neaiški, konsultuojame su Europos komisija arba su kitais kitų šalių Solvit centrais. Tada byla įvedama į duomenų bazę ir išsiunčiama į atitinkamą šalies narės Solvit centrą. Po praėjus laikui, per kurį yra sprendžiama problema, yra gaunamas atsakymas iš kitos šalies narės Solvit centro su siūlomu problemos sprendimu. Tuomet mes jau susisiekėme su klientu ir informuojame apie problemos įsprendimą. Kaip vyksta skundo nagrinėjimas, tai yra Solvit centras gauna elektroninį pranešimą, kuriame nurodyta, jog užregistruota byla. Iš duomenų bazės sužinome apie problemos pobūdį, kas kokį ES teisės aktą pažeidė. Tuomet skambiname pažeidėjui, valstybinei institucijai ir aiškinamasi, kodėl buvo pažeidimas įvykdytas, kodėl buvo pažeistas teisės aktas. Jeigu reikia, siunčiame formalų laišką atsakingai institucijai, kuriame nurodoma, kokį teisės aktą pažeidė, bei prašoma imtis atitinkamų veiksmų, kad tas pažeidimas būtų ištaisytas. Radus priimtiną sprendimą, įvedame į duomenų bazę ir siunčiame skundą pateikusiam Solvit centrui, kuris jau susisiekia su klientu ir jį informuoja. Pagrindiniai mūsų darbo principai yra tai, kad paslaugos teikiamos nemokamai. Sprendžiant problemą visuomet bendradarbiauja 2 Solvit centrai ir nustatytas laikotarpis problemai išspręsti yra 10 savaičių. Sėkmės veiksniai Solvit tai yra efektyvus valstybių narių administracinis bendradarbiavimas, Lietuvos Solvit centro bendradarbiavimas su Lietuvos institucijomis, aiškiai ir konkrečiai suformuluota pareiškėjo problema, pažeidimo esmė, teisės aktas, institucija, kuria skundžiamasi. Pagrindinis sritis, dėl kurių į mus kreipiasi piliečiai ir įmonės, tai yra šios: socialinė apsauga, profesinės kvalifikacijos pripažinimas, prekių ir paslaugų įsileidimas į rinką, mokesčiai, leidimas gyventi kitoje šalyje, automobilio registravimas ir kitos. Pateiksiu porą pavyzdžių, kai buvo išspręstos problemos Europoje. Tai pirma yra tokia: Vengrijos ir Slovakijos plaustų nuomos įmonės pasiskundė, kad Slovėnijos įmonėms yra suteikiamos geresnės sąlygos, išskirtinės sąlygos pigiau ištisus metus plukdyti turistus Slovėnijos upe. Užsienio įmonės ne tik turėdavo mokėti brangiau, bet joms dar buvo užkrauta tokia nepatogi prievolė bilietus pirkti kasdieną. Įmonės kreipėsi į Solvit ir padedant Solvit šios diskriminacinės taisyklės buvo pakeistos ir užsienio įmonės galėjo plėtoti savo verslą Slovėnijos upėse tokiomis pat sąlygomis kaip ir vietos bendrovės. Ir kitas pavyzdys apie austriškus dažus. Tai Austrijos lako ir dažų gamintojai kilo sunkumų prekiauti savo produktais Lenkijoje. Lenkijos institucijos primiktinai reikalavo, kad etiketėje būtų įrašytas ne tik gamintojo, bet ir platintojo Lenkijoje pavadinimas. Klientas kreipėsi į Solvit ir Solvit atkreipė dėmesį tai, kad pagal ES taisyklės etiketėje turi būti nurodytas tik vienas pavadinimas. Tai yra arba gamintojo, arba importuotojo, arba platintojo. Tada Lenkijos valdžios institucijos nusileido ir gamintojas neprivalėjo pakuotėje nurodyti papildomos informacijos. Mes esame sukūrę tokį informacinį filmuką apie Solvit, kaip Solvit veikia, kurio pagalba viešiname Solvit centrą Lietuvoje. Šį parodysiu, bet prieš tai dar mūsų kontaktai, tai yra kaip į mus kreiptis, kaip perduoti skundą, savo problemą. Tai puslapyje www.solvit.lt yra internetinė forma, kurią užtenka užpildyti ir problema atkeliauja pas mus tiesiai į duomenų bazę. Taip pat galima kreiptis elektroniniu paštu, galima skambinti, galima užeiti. Lietuvos Solvit centras veikia ūkio ministerijoje. Ir tada dabar mano žadėti į filmukai. Filmukas.
Centru ir leidimas verslininkui užduotas be papildomų reikalavimų. Visos Antano svajonės išsipildė. Solvit padeda. Spręsti tarp valstybinio pobūdžio problemas, kilusias Europoje, kai neteisingai taikomi ES teisės aktai, iškilus sunkumų bendraujant su valdžios institucijomis. Lietuvos Solvit centras Lietuvos Respublikos ūkio ministerijoje. Solvit – efektyvus problemų sprendimas Europoje. Antanas svajojo tapti plaukų stilistu. Likimas lėmė, kad jis iš tiesų juo tapo, bet gyvūnų. Jis sėkmingai kūrė savo verslą Lietuvoje. Pagaliau jis nusprendė steigti keturkojų grožio saloną Zalcburge. Tačiau austrų pareigūnai dėl neaiškių priežasčių neišduoda Antanui leidimo teikti paslaugas Austrijoje. Verslininkas kreipėsi į Lietuvos Solvit centrą. Lietuvos Solvit centras susisiekė su Austrijos...
Problemų jums nenutiktų, o jeigu ir nutiktų, tai dabar jau žinosite apie Solvit centrą. Ačiū už dėmesį.
Thank you very much, and I will try to summarize what we have heard during the second part of our seminar. First of all, we heard the speaker about Finland, who was telling all the interesting stories about the errors that happen even in good faith. And we've heard the lesson that be specific when proving that you're complying with the criteria that you're tendering for. Ask for copies of the winning offer because different than in Lithuania, they most often are not totally confidential in Finland. And we've heard that there's actually no culture for suing just for suing in Finland, which is again an interesting experience when compared to Lithuania. We have several areas that are just filled with court cases just for suing, even though the suppliers meet the same problems, that is good relation, maintaining good relation with the contracting authorities in the future. Then we've heard the presentation about Finland, and just like in all the cases, in all the presentations previously, we heard that language is a very important issue in Sweden, yes. Even though we have this principle of non-discrimination that is in force. The procedures, according to the chart we saw, are quite similar to the ones that are used in Lithuania. Although what struck me was that gender equality issues must be proven when tendering, which is quite a different perspective, that quite a new thing compared to what we have here. And we've heard that bidding for quality is getting more and more important, which is regretfully so unlikely in Lithuania. The new issue of being guilty for professional misconduct that was mentioned, what is interesting and what is again different from Lithuania is that even bad valuations from your previous contracting authorities might become an issue according to this new rule. Then we heard the last presentation about Solvit, about the new way to address some of the issues that we can use, probably we not knowing that before. It is a free European Union-based system of centers that communicate to solve the problems internationally between the countries and when communicating with the public authorities. Summarizing the whole seminar, I would say that the laws which have been reflecting the EU system, the directives, are quite similar in all the countries that we've heard about. But it's the interpretation, the implementation that is different, and the values that are being sought upon in different countries. But all the issues that we've heard, they might as well be solved by simply asking questions, and asking questions before you have any actions made and before you have bumped into a wall with a negative decision. And for that, you can get the help from Enterprise Lithuania, that is first, and from Magnusson here in Lithuania as well, being able to help you to communicate with the presenters that you have heard today and with other countries as well. And before we let our presenters go, we're open for the questions. Yes, please. Just a second. Just a second. We'll have can we have just a short break for technical reasons before the questions? Okay. Thank you.
Which is around 20,000 euros per year. So, what is the situation in your countries about this question? Maybe there are any other pass or fail questions which can be important.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's actually a matter of the award criteria. It's something you don't necessarily have
a basic requirement that you always have to provide that sort of liability insurance. I'm speaking for Denmark, but I presume we'll hear from my colleagues afterwards. But this is something which may be required by the contracting authority, and which will typically be, because obviously it's a matter of being able to let's say enforce a professional liability that you may so to speak produce in the course of the delivery of the contract, sometimes something which you will even only discover afterwards. So it is something, and that could be and should be something which relates to the value of the contract, the actual liability. So you wouldn't have a sort of standard size of an insurance requirement, but it would be something concretely adjusted to what you are bidding for. Anybody wants to add something?
I think, I don't know, again, it may be different in the other countries, but in Finland, again, the liabilities are very rare, and typically, you're absolutely right, it's not a statutory requirement. It could be in the requirements that you have to have a third party. It's sort of like a consulting insurance, third-party liability insurance, but the thresholds are not so specified so high typically, and usually it's just that you have to have an adequate, and so the levels are a lot smaller, I would say, because the claims are typically a lot smaller and the liabilities are smaller. So I don't see that as a big problem, but I've noticed the same for Finnish companies going abroad, like to States, that the specific insurance requirements are very high. By the way we usually do it, because also the insurance coverages are different, is that we try to get away from that statement, but simply say, we have this insurance and we promise to maintain it. So you can go with your Lithuanian, because the terminology doesn't match. Yes.
That you are eligible to get an insurance in case you are winning, and you need to have it before the writing contract.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something like that.
20,000 euros for 1 year, and then of course it's inadequate.
Yeah. But I would say that compared with Ireland and UK, it's a smaller issue in Scandinavia generally, and certainly in Finland.
Yeah, I agree with those speakers before me. I could just add, I could just add that, as Anders said, the indemnity clause, the level of it, should of course follow the value of the contract, and that's a thing that I mentioned, that's a problem because the contracting authorities, in a great way, in a vast way, copy-paste other procurements. So it could be a problem because even contracts concerning small values could claim indemnity clauses which are very high, and which of course is wrong. So in that case, I would definitely go to the contracting authority claiming an answer of why do you have this requirement. Could be a thing. Good.
I would like to ask a question, Natalie.
I love you too much.
Yes.
You mentioned that in one of your slides that groups of suppliers are entitled to apply for it to be allowed to submit a joint offer.
Yeah.
Isn't that an automatic right to present a joint offer?
Yeah.
You have to apply for permission for that?
No. It comes automatically. You don't have to apply for permission to act jointly, so to say. You just do that. But in that case, it's very important to have a good, cooperation agreements between the companies, so that you know that, okay, if we win the contract, how do we split the responsibility, the liabilities, and of course the payment. So that's very important then. But anyone can put in a joint tender.
Now there is a clear trend, probably not only in Scandinavian market, but also in other countries, that these framework contracts become a major issue for small and medium-sized companies. In our case, for example, and I see myself that more and more contracts are won by internationals, such like you are working with ICT,
one can say that the attitude is positive, but there is nothing happening on that. I think this is an issue that a lot of people raise, that this is actually diminishing competition because the big ones are winning, because they can beat the prices and the small ones cannot qualify, and a lot of discussion but nothing really concrete. So for as long as the requests for bids are such that the big ones end up winning, they will win.
They will.
Yeah.
Because of qualification.
Yes. Yes.
And if you will look to the reference list, despite of the fact that we can present quite impressive, let's say, references.
Yeah.
The thing is that, let's say, Tata Consulting Service, they will present reference list from all over the world.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
they will get higher mark than we can.
Yeah.
If I can just add, these framework contracts have been subject for discussion over years, and as a matter of fact, in the previous directives that were revised in 2004 and 5, framework contracts were not included in the directives. So that was basically not taking a position on that. And there was a lot of debate in Denmark on whether you could use framework contracts at all, because it was in a way of circumventing the core principle of the procurement process. However, whoever managed to get that through, it's now in the directives. So it's been legitimized in that sense, and therefore I don't think you can do an awful lot about it. But of course, again, monitoring, making sure that the tendering of framework contracts is done appropriately and in compliance with the regulations, and that probably then means that a business area is rather as subcontractors than as direct contractors, and then chances for winning subcontracts in this environment probably is very much dependent on what the financial situation of the companies is. I mean, go 3-4 years back, it was impossible to get qualified people in most of the Nordic countries, I think. Unfortunately, that picture has changed. You have a lot of them now because there is a lot of, I mean, financial crisis has basically set its footprint. Sorry, that's it. So no, well, that's probably true. That's probably true. So I mean, and you can probably compete even with the big providers of even the winners of the framework contracts, because you can go in and select sort of niche areas and pick the cherries where you can be competitive.
Yeah, well, so far what we do, we try to avoid the framework contracts, so just even we do not compete with that, but
we will. There's yes, perfect.
can you hear me from?
Yes.
Well, I have a question for both Lithuanian presenters. I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to address you in English or in Lithuanian.
As you please.
If you do it in Lithuanian, I will not answer.
Well, in the first presentation of Aurimas, you mentioned that it's very important when bidding in Germany that our products or services comply with the regulation of Germany. Not as a federation, but as well as the lands of Germany. The regulation should be, you have to comply with those. And in our last presentation, we heard that the goods and services in the European Union should be, well, it shouldn't be like you can sell your products in one European country. It's supposed to be as well be available to sell it in another one. But now we have a contradiction because we have to get some kind of new standards and regulations or a new license to sell our product in Germany. So is this the case for the Solvits program? Can we say address this issue?
Could I answer in Lithuanian? Manau, kad ta prasme, jūs turit konkretų pavyzdį, ne konkrečias prekes ir aš tikrai neatsakysiu
jums, nes reikia žiūrėti konkrečiai teisės dokumentus, visų tikrai atmintinai nežinau, bet jūs mums parašykit, trumpai nupasakokit situaciją, pasižiūrėsime ir iš tikrųjų duosim atsakymą. Jeigu tai ir nebus tas skundas Solvit kompetencijai, tai mes bent jau tada nukreipsim, kas jums galėtų labiau padėti. Ir šiaip tokiais atvejais visą laiką sakau, kad žmonės ar įmonių atstovai gali ir nežinoti konkrečių ten pažeidimas, nepažeidimas ES teisės akto, drąsiai kreipkitės į Solvit, tai yra mes jau žiūrim, nagrinėjam ir jeigu tai yra ne Solvit kompetencija, visada geranoriškai nukreipiam į kitas institucijas ir kažkaip bandom visais atvejais padėti.
Well, it depends very much on
when I'm speaking for Denmark, of course, only, but it depends on what areas we're talking. But I would say mostly European. But then again, European. What is European? I can tell you for a fact.
the new metro branch
to one of the metro circles of Copenhagen. There is a huge Turkish contractor pre-qualified for that, and I think they're pre-qualified in 3 out of 4 phases of that project. And well, I would imagine that they stand a pretty good chance to win some of it at least. You have like the actual extension of the metro ring at the moment is being performed by an Italian consortium consisting of 3 Italian construction companies. I'm leading a case for the before the complaints board at the moment for a UK based. They have a Danish subsidiary, but UK based major multinational because they're frustrated with not being awarded actually a supply contract for medical equipment. I would say there is no limitation. It could be originating from anywhere, and. Before handing the microphone to my dear colleagues, and with the danger of talking your ears off all the time, then that was actually a thing I would like to add to what I was saying and what we've been saying all of us before. So I think that's one of the areas where, for instance, Lithuanian companies have stand a good chance of participating in public procurement. That is exactly in maybe subcontracts to main contractors, or procurement provision or contract provision where you're not necessarily dependent on being on site in Denmark, for instance. That is, take an IT supply contract and you can do the vast majority of the other work, for instance, here in Lithuania. Could be even if sub-supplies to construction work. It could be whatever framework constructions or machinery constructions, whatever, where you can actually produce whatever components we're talking about in Lithuania with Lithuanian workforce at Lithuanian prices, and thus of course be extremely competitive. Now that said, you will still have to consider, depending on what area you're talking about, certain standards and requirements that need to be fulfilled when it's then delivered, for instance, to Denmark. You'd still, if you deliver a construction component made in Lithuania, you'd still have to consider what requirements would need to be fulfilled according to the Danish standards, because it will be the Danish standards that are required typically to when you install the component, for instance. But again, there's a big difference, I suppose, between manufacturing and adopting to Danish standards outside of Denmark, and then having to do it on site. And that would apply for the ITC or the ICT considerations as well. Where mentality plays a role could be in, let's say, understanding what are the actual requirements, how are they applied in practical terms, where they're being applied. Yes, but then you need to team up with someone who has that knowledge. But it doesn't mean that's the majority of the supply. It just means that you need consultancy from whatever business consultant it may be. So, but you will be the clever one, identifying in advance where do you need to have the local input in order to make your offer the best, taking all of that into consideration.
I'll answer from another perspective. I don't know really of the public procurement, but in a sort of a business culture in the ICT sector, I think it's clearly easy to see that the companies are already prepared to set up either their own units or subcontract coding work from the Baltic states. I know some companies who have their in-house teams in Riga, Finnish companies, and Tallinn certainly, and so that sort of a culture is easy for them to perceive as resource for good coding or ICT work. Russia is I mean, everybody identifies the resources there, but it may be more difficult. Maybe the mentality is slightly more difficult, and everybody identifies Romania, maybe some others there. But I think that's why this is interesting from the ICT perspective. That for the ICT expert, it seems relatively natural to buy work from the Baltic states, from the ICT sector. So I would say that in the ICT public procurement, it's the same ICT people making those judgment calls. So they wouldn't be surprised to see the bids coming from these states. Mentality is about the same, although the language isn't, it still is quite natural. So in that sense, to your answer, I don't know if there's any record, I don't know, where you would have public procurement resources coming from those areas. But in a general ICT business, those are very, very common these days to have teams in those countries.
One more question. About such so-called horizontal things, like gender issues, public safety at work, health issues. Is it, let's say, self-declaration form in your cases, or is it somehow should be accredited by somebody, or simply, let's say, the managing director can self-declare that actually we are following rules by, let's say, Sweden or Denmark or Finland, or at the same time also Lithuanian?
It is pretty much self-declaratory, or just simply having to show that you have a
policy that you are committed to follow, or something like that.
Yeah,
no, not really, not like a certified standard from anywhere.
No, there is no certification yet, anyway. But normally policies, and you have to prove it by sending in those policies normally. Yeah.
You just give us an attachment company policy towards safety at work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And in addition to that, you can say that oftentimes it's not even specifically detailed. It is just self-evident that it is like that. And if you're not doing it, you will actually subsequently be in breach of the contract. So,
2 hours before the deadline,
exactly.
you can give some paper to your director to sign it.
You're right. Yeah. That's it. Exactly. But that then yeah. But then we're into internal policies. That's it. Yeah. But it's interesting in continuation of what we said before. I've actually read, starting to read mega trends coming up now that talk about all the outsourcing that was done to China, for instance, and Far East. Maybe not so much India yet, but at least China and Far East could be on the way back, so to speak, because China is becoming increasingly more expensive, becoming less competitive in a number of contexts, and that being the case, then suddenly China becomes very different and very complicated to work in, whereas then things may start returning to the sort of regions around where exactly you said the mentality is much closer, the understanding
of the requirements. So I think let's look another 5-10 years ahead.
There will be, in my opinion, a lot of opportunities coming up that may have not been available for the last 5-10 years. Sure.
Outsource from, let's say, in ICT, outsource overseas outsource fall by 20% last year. However, nearshore outsource increased by 7%. 5-7%. So that means nearshore is Poland, Baltic states, and India, China, and then let's say outsource in Russia. Well, believe it or not, it can be that let's say at least Moscow can be same market as Scandinavia in terms of prices for different ICT works. I mean that this is not only about programming, this is also about network stuff and so on. Just to put engineer in plane for 1 day or 2 days is very easy. Having in mind his cost.
By the way, is it possible to submit converting documents because those in electronic, by electronic means your contract? Or
Yes.
only paper?
I would say it becomes more electronic. It's the exception that it's by paper nowadays. And even
90% or something is by electronic means.
and even the tender
market court receives things in email these days, so it's amazing, much easier.
and even the tender documents, you hardly get them in paper anymore. You have to go to the databases to pick them out. So yes.
I have a question. What is the chance actually how to find out the winner? If I am tendering, then I can ask for the answers, and then I know exactly what the winner is. But if not, I'm not tendering. Then you use other channels and like that, then I can offer like a subcontractor.
The decision is public, and I think the contract is public, but the tender is not. Or the winning tender is.
Yeah.
Well,
I can only speak for Sweden. I can only speak for Sweden. Well, I think we have the same kind of laws on the publicity, the official principle that we have in the EU as well. That all documents is by the main rule official if they are not confidential in any part. And of course, it depends. It's up to the contracting authority to actually decide on that. But a proof of confidentiality is when you as a tenderer say that we don't want this price information or these intellectual property stuff in the tender to be official. So, and it's up to the contracting authority if they do wrong, if they hand out something which is very, what should I say, which is confidential and that can damage you as a company. Of course, you can claim damages from the contracting authority, but it's anyone can claim those documents from the contracting authority, and it's a very good way of getting to know your competitors, and especially the winning competitor.
Then there must be a slight difference. In Finland it was this way that first of all the price can never be confidential, so that cannot be classified. But I understand it so that the winning contract is public. Who wins and what kind of a contract, that is public information. But for whoever made the tender, every tender is public. Every tender is available to this person who also did a tender, excluding what was made confidential, but the price can never be confidential. But it can be something that is, like you said, trade secret or something like that. I've seen somebody say that my whole bid is confidential, which never works. You have to identify the bids, and your price can never be confidential.
In Sweden, there have been some cases in Sweden when they actually have found bits of, let's say this.
Breakdowns.
The breakdowns can be confidential, but the total price can almost never be confidential. Yeah, we agree on that. But the breakdowns could be it could hurt a company, of course, because you have different ways of thinking. So, but as a supplier, I would definitely recommend that you try to do whatever you want to do confidential and specifically say this in the tender, because I know the contracting authorities, if they see that, they are always kind of scared of giving it out. So it's better to do more than less.
But it's a good way, a really good way to learn is to just to submit a silly bid and ask all the others so that you can get good money.
In some cases, and like it's like a package, you know, it's like more additional like positions like who can supply. And in this case, like sometimes some projects are like looking just participate like a subcontract. But that in those cases, like we're looking for the winner, and it's really hard to find the winner because if you participate in a tender, it's like you can receive our information. But if you're not, so that's why my question is like, there is maybe some easy channels like a way to like a search for the winners and like some tenders.
My understanding is that the decisions at the winning, that is public information. At least in Finland they have to announce who wins. That's a decision.
So it should be in the same tender system like that?
Never thought about it. It's actually in the same system.
Well, it's probably not available in the tender system itself, but it's available as public information that you can request from the bidding or the contracting authority. Just like you can basically request public insight into any administrative action by a public authority, but then you will probably get less information. Here, I think price is confidential, so that you will not necessarily get not even the total price. The sensitivity under the regulation on access to public information is more narrow and more restricted than for the bidders, because the difference is the bidders, of course, need to be able to compare and see if they have been properly treated. Yes. So they need more information, whereas, let's say, every Tom, Dick and Harry who just has an interest in knowing, they don't necessarily need to know from that perspective. They will need to know it from more a sort of general learning curve.
On the other hand, it can be voluntary declaration by public institution itself that they say, look, we have such a tender, and our winner is this company. It can be so. Sometimes even with the price. The winner is this company, especially with framework agreements. They do that.
True. Yeah, they can have a political interest in showing about it and showing how good they've been.
Decreasing future costs.
As well.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to answer to this question, but please leave your business card and we'll be back and answer. Okay.
Anyone else?
It's clear there should be local partner for that. Because, it's very easy, with UK, Ireland, or Malta, for example, because it's English-speaking countries, so you can prepare by yourself. But it's not the case for North or for Germany.
Again, it depends very much on what the public authority actually what they want. I mean, if they conduct a procurement process where they want to invite as many and they have a genuine interest in inviting as many participants as possible, they have an so to speak a self-interest in doing it in English because again, one understands Danish. So. And I would say within IT, it is anyway. So even Danish is English. Danish IT, you speak English.
Yes, but look even to the web pages of IT companies. A lot of them do not have English web page. Okay. Yes, it's true. Especially don't tell Norwegians.
Yeah. That's a different story. We know that story.
We're recording.
another funny story. I'm following now Belgian public procurement, because they have two languages. One is French, another one is Dutch. And guess what? This year so far I haven't seen any tender, in English language. But just for the interest, my computer is translating for me, so just following that, not sure about Nordic countries, but it can be the case actually. Only few tenders can be also available in English.
I mean, the examples I mentioned before about the metro, that is all in English, and we're talking huge stacks.
Global, yes, it's global.
Yeah, and most of the tenders actually is, if it's English, some information, but the technical data mostly in the local language, the national language. So anyways, you need like a translate, or you need some advice, something like advisor actually.
Yeah,
But in that case, I would not refrain from actually requesting from the public authority. So can you please send it to us in English? And if they are reluctant to do so, challenge them, saying, I mean, you must have an interest in getting as many qualified offers as possible. So please provide that in English.
Not really. I guess according to European law, because now it's already in the European level, all the procurement process, they can say, you know, that let's say Danish or Swedish is equal to English, you know, so please translate yourself. You know. This is true. So they can also answer in such a way. I guess that's my feeling.
But they could do it maybe as a service if they want to. It's not an obligation to do it.
But then this translation should be official in order to submit your offer in English. I guess it can be tricky legal things. That's my feeling.
I think so.
Yeah, because let's say, I guess at least with Lithuanian procurement, if you will submit tender, if you will make a bid in English, not pretty sure, or it should be somehow
authorized. You mean?
Authorized somehow should be authorized. But who will do that? It can be some legal obstacles. Maybe you know.
Well, like being a lawyer, I guess.
Never thought about that, you know, because being Lithuanian, we do not submit in English.
Well, if you get a document translated by the contracting authority itself, then I would say the tenderer may as well be sure that it will be okay. But whether or not the tenderer may submit its own offer in English or some other language, I'm pretty sure as well that it might create problems. Being a lawyer, as I said, the devil sleeps in the details. And when you have additional translation issues involved, I guess those details may just get even more complicated. So probably the best advice would be to have a local partner or a local advisor who would also get you through not only the translational and technical data, but with other issues such as the health or employment issues, etc., etc., etc.
Well, I think the interesting development, at least in Finland, is that even though, like in ICT contracts, many times you have documents in English, the courts and arbitration panels, they start very openly going with multiple languages, and there's a lot of discussion about that, how that affects the interpretation. And some argue even that we are bringing in American and Anglo-Saxon case law to our system outside the Finnish way of saying things. But everybody says that it's happened softly and smoothly without a lot of problems. So even if there was an English, like standard terms or license terms in English in a bit that was otherwise Finnish, it would just fit in and it would be interpreted based on what it says in English without having to worry about how it's being translated into Finnish and then interpreted. So
yeah, but
it gets easier.
Contract. That can be fixed in the contract. Let's say that I communicate with public institution. Let's say technical things can be done in English.
Yeah.
For sure. Everything goes in English, because I'm not going to translate the kind of some sophisticated equipment. So communication can be, or even training can be in English.
Yeah.
And this is agreed between myself, like a dinner, and public institutions.
Yes.
But this is already after you are winning public procurement.
Yeah, but you're absolutely. I think we have identified, all of us having been going through this presentation thing, that we have to admit that the local systems are still somewhat protective, sort of in real life. They're not as open, and I think Anders' point that we should all probably provoke that discussion, that should it be made more available, possible, or also possible to have parts of the document, or specify which has to be in Finnish, rather than just leave it open, or just say that everything has to be in Finnish, because there's no reason for everything being in Finnish. Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right, that probably even the buyers should be advised that, hey, think carefully what needs to be in Swedish and what can be of some other language that we can understand. Yeah. So it's absolutely a fault in the system. Still. I mean, if you ideologically think about a whole procurement system, that it should be giving the widest possible opportunity to get the best bids to the public procurement, the buyer, and this way you are not getting all the best ones because the language unnecessarily becomes a barrier.
Yeah, well, but anyway, well, my feeling is that this is really fine that everything is in local language, you know, because I do not need to adopt that for only in one case. You know, if I want to decrease price and to increase competition, yes, then I do that in English. Yeah, but this should not be like obligation. It's more about for the institution itself. So that's why local partners are important.
And that is probably also what is behind that it will probably take some time before you see a total equalization of languages, because it boils down to, can you actually force the public authorities to work in another language? That would certainly change the civil administration, the public administration, if they were forced to, one thing is you can do that with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but that's more or less evident, but I mean, the Ministry of Social Affairs or Ministry of Labor or what have you, can they be forced to work in foreign languages? Of course, you will have the capacities. You will be working at EU level, and then but then again, I mean, they could theoretically just put on the earphones and get their simultaneous translations. So you have not come to the stage yet where you can actually force public authorities to work in other languages than the national language.
Yeah.
That's it. At least they come out some funny sometimes.
Anyone else?
Well, I think we pass.
Well, we'll see how many Lithuanian exporters will come to your country.
We have scared them away.
I hope not.
Hopefully dress them to be super lean and competitive. That's the whole idea.
Well, understanding that these countries that you're representing have been the ones least hit, or least hit by the crisis, or at least fastest growing afterwards, the pitfall was not very dangerous. So I would say that Lithuanian exporters really do have good competition perspectives in your countries. And having learned something from today, I'm sure that we will see some success stories. Maybe you and us can help. If you have any other questions, please address both us, both Magnusson, both Enterprise Lithuania, and I would like to thank you then for participating and thank you for presenting. Thank you.